Oh boy, this is one Pandora's box of my memories I was hoping to open, and yet not open at the same time. Star Ocean is an RPG series that made its start on the Super Famicom, under the title Star Ocean Fantastic Space Odyssey. Being the first game developed by TriAce and published by Enix in 1996, it was sadly never released outside Japan due to Enix's American division being shut down at the time. However, after many years and sequels later, the first game was remade for the PlayStation Portable and was released in Japan on 2007, while the US and Europe version saw a release 1 year after under the title of Star Ocean First Departure. Also, this RPG series is one of the few RPGs that mixed both fantasy and sci-fi genres into one game, which was a fresh and original concept back then. At first, Star Ocean's Fantastic Space Odyssey started out with an archaic version of the series' real-time battle system, where both your party and the enemies moved at the same time, and you chose who to attack with melee, magic, or special arts, which were unique to each character. With the main draw being you could recruit many different characters to your cause, but you had a limit on the number of characters you could take with you, meaning any playthrough could be different based on your choices and who you decide to take with you. As more sequels were released, the battle system was improved for the better, though Star Ocean 4 The Last Hope sadly took away the sense of choice of party members and the series' staple private actions, which was scenes between you and your party members that increase your bond of friendship with them, and have a good laugh too. I have a love-hate relationship with the Star Ocean series, as I first played the sequel Star Ocean, The Second Story on the original PlayStation, and fell in love with it, from all the interesting and colourful characters to its grandiose story that just kept on growing the more I played. Sadly though, this love for the franchise would be limited to this one, as Star Ocean's 3 Till the End of Time was a horrendous mess of a story, while the first one had a lot of potential, but it was not really well told at all, with a lack of focus on who the overarching villain was, while the fourth one was just okay, but it didn't really stand out well. And with Star Ocean 5 integrity and faithlessness already in development, I thought it would make for a perfect opportunity to talk about the only anime released under the Star Ocean's name. Star Ocean EX was a 26-episode anime series created by Studio Deen that aired between April and September in 2001. Not long after, under Movix's license, they released 9 volumes of VHS and DVDs holding 2 episodes per volume, except the final one, which held 3 between 2001 and 2002. However, in 2004, Geneon Entertainment brought the rights to distribute the anime in the DVD format and re-released the entire series in 2005 in 4 to 5 episode volumes, and a whole box set of the entire series in 2006. This particular anime series retold the story of Star Ocean The Second Story, but it wasn't the video game. Before this anime, there was a manga adaptation of Star Ocean's The Second Story written by Mayumi Azuma and published by Enix and monthly shonen Gangan magazine between 1999 and 2001. This was what was adapted for the anime. I don't know what do I even say about that? Have I gone mad? How can an adaptation be adapted into another form of media over the original? This boggles my very existence to me. You know what, I'll just stop mulling over my sanity at this point and actually get into the plot of the story. The story follows our main male protagonist, Claude C. Kenny, who carelessly gets himself teleported to another planet and unable to get in contact with the starship Calnus and the team he was with. Not long after that, he comes across our lead female protagonist, Rena Lanford, and saves her from a monster. However, when he unwittingly uses his phase gun to save her, Rena immediately assumes that Claude is the legendary warrior of light, prophesied to come to save their world of Expel from a great disaster. And thus, Claude, hoping to find a way home, apprehensively takes on the task of journeying with Rena to find the Sorcery Globe, a mysterious object that fell from the sky, which has caused and still is causing disasters across the world, along with creating monsters that roam the planet. while also meeting up with other comrades to help them in their cause. Being a sort of retelling of the original game, the anime in a way did stay true to the storyline that was in the game, though with some additions of scenes, plot lines or original characters not found in the game, and some changes that in the grand scheme of things were extremely unnecessary. At first when I watched the start of the series I didn't really have any issues, and I was willing to say it was a decent adaptation, but the further I got into it, the more I noticed the glaring problems that were in this anime series. While it did cover the pivotal moments, the way the scenes were executed was handled very differently, and it was not for the better. While the structure and foundation of the original were kept, the differences lied in the eyesore of the details, turning both the story and its characters into inferior imitations. Because of these changes, everything felt underwhelming or tacked on in the cheapest way possible, and lines that were perfect originally were changed with no thought given to how it would come across. Even the extra scenes didn't add anything other than just scenes for the sake of being goofy. I can't really say anything more than that. Everything just felt so wrong in the grand scheme of it all, and I was at a complete loss as to why they thought changing so much in how the characters acted and how the story would be presented would have benefited this adaptation, since it didn't really need it. Even characters that were non-playable characters got to be a part of the main cast, like Yuki the jam store owner, which I didn't mind, but the fact she was promoted to supporting character was still unnecessary. That's pretty much my thoughts on the story in a nutshell. Everything about it was needless. It's like if Michelangelo finished painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, and then someone else came in and said, "Oh, I know what can make this better," and then proceeds to crudely paint monocles, top hats, and cruddy mustaches on everyone. Characters were also not spared the mercy of being rewritten, as they had their characteristics reworked or had one tiny certain aspect from the game become highly exaggerated in this anime. I remember watching this and calling complete donkey bongs when seeing Celine, an adventurous treasure hunter, being downright terrified of bugs. And just to utterly confuse me further, a scene where she meets Claude for the first time, which originally in the game was where she was in a fight with another mage over a map she got fair and square, only for Claude to step in and come to her defense, which she admired him for his courage, while also asking for help in finding a treasure that could possibly give Claude and Rena a clue on the sorcery globe, due to coinciding goals. Got translated to Celine being accosted by a bunch of comic relief thugs wanting to be her bodyguard. Claude steps in, and then she proceeds to say, "Hey, you're handsome, you're my new bodyguard," forcing him to help her find the treasure, completely missing the point of what made both the scene and her character likable in the first place. And that's only one example. All the characters were like this, and it was quite jarring for me. The worst from my memory was Rena, who was a healer that also knew how to fight with her fists, got demoted to damsel with little to no fighting capabilities, and heals on the odd occasion. This is ridiculous! I came to see Rena dropkick a monster in the head, for goodness sakes! So yeah, the worst case scenario happened, where the characters were changed for no reason, when they were already awesome and likable in the first place. It's like the writer thought they knew what made the characters, but concentrated on the wrong aspects. And I still can't believe this happened. By now you probably noticed that the animation in this is not that good to look at. I remember first watching this and knew that something was cheap about it, with still images that may or may not be partially animated, right down to reusing the same animations from some of the time to a lot, or just being off in general in how it looks. The music was probably the highlight of this anime, as it did an admirable job of feeling like it's part of the Star Ocean's franchise. They even had a few melodies redone for the anime, which was wonderful to hear some of my most favourite pieces of music from the game. Even the opening and ending themes were decent, so I thankfully couldn't find any faults here. The voice acting, however, was another issue entirely. While the Japanese voice acting was good enough to sit through, the English dub was not so great. Nothing terrible, but it's not that good either. The best way I could describe it is that the actors just sounded dull most of the time, with nothing going into their voice lines. The voice acting in the original PlayStation game was 100 times better than this, and that was only during battles. Oh, and for a little extra detail, the English voice actors pronounced Claude as Claude, as if they really wanted to try and make his name sound dignified, but instead did the opposite and sounded stupid to not be able to pronounce such a simple name properly. The battles didn't fare much better either, with battle choreography that looked and felt dull as the voice work, littered with still images and reused animation. Also hope you all love Claude's Ku Hazan ability, which is air slash in translation, because that is literally the only move he ever used in most episodes, and they shamelessly reused the same animation for it too. I mean, this is so understandable, considering Claude had only 10 different techniques he could have used. Usually I would avoid spoiling the ending to any anime I would talk about, but you know what? I am pulling out my spoiler card on this one. The ending of this 26 episode anime series consisted of what should have been revealing 10 awesome villains, cut down to one incredibly dull villain, pretending to be one of the antagonists from the game, but looked and acted nothing like him, and was defeated in the most cliche anime way the gods of anime tropes could bestow upon them. But then at the last moment, he revealed that he was not defeated and will destroy the planet. So Claude and all his friends proclaimed that they will enter enemy territory and left all of that on a cliffhanger. Oh yeah, they did this. They wanted to make a second season after leaving off this first one with the biggest betrayal of an anime series I had to sit through and watch. And you want to know how bad this was? The manga ended the same way the anime series did, but yet this did get a second season in the form of an audio drama, released only in Japan, may I add. I can't make this up. To think that the creators would be so desperate to finish off this tripe of a series that, may I add, they were not bothered in trying to at least stay true to the core of the game's story, that they would make the other half of the series audio only. I just don't know what to say. It's just so strange. This is just sad. Back when I was in college, when I first found out that they made an anime series based on my favorite Star Ocean's game, I wanted to see it badly. I really wanted to love this series. But even back then, when I didn't do reviews, I knew this anime was terrible, and my thoughts have still not changed. There is just so little good in it that all the little details became a huge mountain of flaws I just can't bring myself to turn my head away from. I don't think this anime is good for anybody. Not for anime watchers, not for the fans of the game. No one deserves to sit through this entire series. It just isn't worth it. If you've never played the game, you just think this was a dull anime. But if you did, then this series took everything you knew and love about Star Ocean the Second stories, wonderful characters and grand story, and turned it into a typical and unimpressive betrayal to the source material. There is just nothing more to say other than this anime deserves to be lost in the vastness of space of the internet and never explored.